It all began with an innocent offer. My husband, Jack, and I were living the typical suburban dream. That was until the day his nephew, Leo, decided to cross the Atlantic for a college semester in the States. Being his closest kin in the country, Jack didn't hesitate to open our doors to him. Leo, in his early 20s, was the quintessential, charming French youth, complete with an accent that could melt hearts from a mile away. Upon his arrival in mid-October, the airport reunion was anything but ordinary. As Leo approached, his presence seemed to slow time itself. He was slender, his pale skin a stark contrast against the deep browns of his eyes, and his curls casually tousled. The very image of a protagonist straight out of a European indie film. The air around him was perfumed with a scent that immediately became my favorite, although I didn't know it yet. Leo's gratitude towards us was palpable. His warmth and zest for life were infectious, and it wasn't long before he was charming his way into every conversation. "It's such a pleasure to finally meet you, Carrie," he said, as we exchanged polite cheek kisses, his words tinged with a sincerity that caught me off guard. My husband laughed it off, patting Leo on the back, completely unaware of the silent storm brewing within me. As Halloween approached, our home transformed with decorations and plans for a celebration, as this was Leo's first experience with the American Halloween fervor. We planned a grand party, inviting friends and neighbors to introduce Leo to this cherished tradition. The night of the party, our home was a canvas of spooky delight, draped in shadows and eerie lights, setting the stage for a night of mischief. I chose to dress as Little Red Riding Hood, a nod to the fairy tales Leo had grown up with in France. Jack opted for a werewolf costume, embracing the spirit with a growl every now and then. As the guests arrived, the house buzzed with energy. Leo, dressed as a suave vampire, complete with fake fangs and a cape, was the life of the party. As the clock struck midnight, Jack, exhausted from the day's festivities, excused himself. "I'm off to bed, love. Enjoy the rest of the night," he murmured, leaving me in the thrall of the party. Leo noticed my slight disappointment and sidled up to me with a playful grin. "Looks like Red Riding Hood is without her wolf tonight," he teased, his voice a low murmur under the thumping bass of the music. What started as a night of innocent fun soon spiraled into something more. Our laughter mingled with the spooky soundtrack, and I found myself drawn to Leo in ways I hadn't anticipated. His charisma was undeniable, and as the party dwindled down to just a few lingering guests, our connection deepened. "Did you enjoy your first Halloween, Leo?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper amid the soft strains of music now filling the room. "Absolutely," he replied, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "It's one of the best nights I've ever had, thanks to you." As the last guest said their goodbyes, Leo and I began tidying up, moving together with an ease that felt both thrilling and dangerous. The charged silence between us was palpable, and as we cleared the last of the debris, Leo turned to face me, his expression intense. "Carrie, I know this might be wrong, but I can't ignore this any longer," he confessed, his voice thick with emotion. Before I could respond, he stepped closer, reducing the space between us. The next moment, his lips were on mine, igniting a fire that I hadn't realized was smoldering just beneath the surface. The kiss was the kind that novels and movies attempt to capture but often fall short of, the kind that promises as much danger as it does pleasure. As we broke apart, breathless and startled by our own audacity, the realization of what this could mean for my marriage began to sink in. Yet, the night was far from over, and as the witching hour approached, the true test of our resolve began. Little did I know, the magic of Halloween was about to weave a spell neither of us could escape from. In the quiet aftermath of our first kiss, the world outside seemed inconsequential. The once lively house now stood silent, holding its breath as Leo and I navigated this unexpected territory. Each look, each accidental touch, sparked a new flame that threatened to burn everything in its path. As we wrapped up the cleanup, Leo paused, his eyes locked on mine with an intensity that made my heart race. "Carrie, tonight changed everything," he whispered, his voice heavy with an emotion that mirrored my own turmoil. The air between us was charged, a mix of guilt and longing weaving a complicated web around our better judgment. I knew what was happening was wrong, but the pull towards him felt inevitable. The house settled into silence, and with a tentative resolve, we ascended the stairs together. At my door, Leo's hand found mine, and he drew me close for another kiss, this one deeper, more desperate than the last. "Good night," he murmured as we reluctantly parted ways, each step towards our separate rooms heavy with unspoken promises. The days that followed were a blur of stolen moments and whispered secrets. Jack, ever the doting husband, remained oblivious, his trust in us both unwavering. But with each passing day, the gravity of our actions grew heavier, the thrill of the secret overshadowed by the reality of the deceit. One evening, Jack surprised us with an unexpected gesture. "I've got theater tickets for tonight," he announced, his eyes gleaming with the anticipation of a shared adventure. But fate had other plans. Just hours before the show, Jack called with news that would once again alter the course of the evening. "I've had a minor car accident. I'm fine, but there's no way I'll make it back in time. You two go ahead without me." The call ended with Jack insisting we enjoy the evening, his voice calm despite the chaos. As I relayed the message to Leo, the air between us shifted, charged with a newfound freedom and the dangerous allure of possibility. "Carrie, why don't we do something different tonight?" Leo suggested, a mischievous twinkle in his eye. "Let's skip the theater." Caught up in the moment, I agreed, and soon we were driving away from our planned evening, towards a destination only Leo knew. The night was ours, and as we entered the vibrant chaos of a local casino, the reality of our choices faded into the background, replaced by the intoxicating thrill of the unknown. We laughed and danced, losing ourselves in the crowd and the music. It was easy to forget, in those fleeting moments, the consequences that awaited us at home. But as the night deepened, the undeniable connection between us pulled tighter, drawing us inevitably together. Eventually, we found ourselves alone in a hotel room, the city lights a distant backdrop to the drama unfolding between us. "Carrie, I don't want this night to end," Leo confessed as he pulled me closer, his lips finding mine in a kiss that sealed our fateful decision. What followed was a night of passion that felt both like a beginning and an end. As dawn approached, the reality of our actions set in. We had crossed a line from which there was no return, and as we faced each other in the cold light of morning, the weight of our betrayal was palpable. "We can't let this happen again," I said, the finality of my words hanging heavy in the air. Leo nodded, his face a mask of regret and resignation. "I know," he replied, his voice a whisper. This was a mistake, a beautiful, terrible mistake. We returned home to a world that seemed unchanged on the surface, but beneath the veneer of normalcy, the foundations of my marriage had shifted. Jack greeted us with a smile, unaware of the storm that had raged in his absence. "How was the theater?" he asked, his innocence piercing my heart like a dagger. "Wonderful," I lied, the word tasting bitter on my tongue. As I looked at Leo, I saw the same tormented conflict reflected in his eyes. We had ventured into a tempest of our own making, and now we were left to navigate the aftermath, each step forward a reminder of the line we had so recklessly crossed. In the weeks that followed, Leo's departure back to France brought a bittersweet relief. We exchanged polite messages, the tone carefully neutral, the words a shield against the memories of that Halloween. The secret of our betrayal remained buried, a silent pact between us that bound us even as it tore us apart. As I watched Jack, the love of my life, I knew the shadows of that night would always linger, a ghostly presence in the corners of our perfect life. But beyond the deceit, I had discovered a truth about myself, a desire for something different, something that, for a brief moment, I had found in Leo's arms. And though we promised never to speak of it, the memory of that night would haunt us both, a poignant reminder of what we had and what could never be again.